welcome in to Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trade. I'm your host, Trade. It is Tuesday, July 2nd, a fantastic Tuesday, depending on where you are. They're talking about a little bit more rain here in the state of Wisconsin and elsewhere today, so hopefully everybody's staying dry out there. They're talking like we might see another inch of rain. It's getting dry, so definitely need it, right? Definitely need some rain again, right? Can't miss it for too long. It's back in the forecast. But that's not stopping the sports that are going on around Wisconsin and elsewhere right now. So we got lots to jump into today. We saw the Bucks make a move yesterday, potential moves still on the way that we could discuss. I've seen some rumors out there. I want to touch into them. We saw a couple of other big moves around the NBA. The Badgers are in the news a little bit. Brewers, of course the Brewers are in the news. We got to be talking about the Brew Crew and an interesting and heated argument again last night in the Milwaukee Brewer game there against the Rockies. Definitely got to be looking at that. So lots to get into today. Right away, I want to look at the Badger news. And first off, that is that the Badgers have now picked up another big-time recruit. Offensive lineman Hardy Watts is on his way to Madison. Another fantastic signing by Luke Fickell and this Badger staff. Hardy Watts is the second highest rated commitment to the Badgers in the class of 2025, which is now set as the number 9 class in the country and the number 4 class in the Big Ten. Hardy Watts, a fantastic offensive lineman. Like I've been saying, 4-star recruit there. Looking at him there, I mean, his points, you look at him in Rivals rating right there. He's 6.1 ranked prospect, receives 150 points. A 6.0 receives 135, 5.9 rank, receives 120, and so on in increments of 15 there. And looking at Hardy Watts there, he received a bunch of points there. He's actually up near the top there. He's currently sitting at 105 points there. 122 points there, according to Rivals. So, a big-time recruit, long, athletic, big, gets after guys. He's going to be a great add for this Badger team. So, Luke Fickell and the Wisconsin coaching staff does it again. They do it again. They add another big-time recruit to that 2025 class. Building for the future, you have to right now. I mean, you look at the Big Ten, you're adding in Oregon, UCLA, USC, Washington. It's only getting better, right? You're already adding that into the gauntlet that is the Big Ten East already, right? You look at Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State. And Nebraska is supposedly, with this new quarterback, getting better. I'll believe it when I see it. I've never seen Nebraska play good football in a while. But, I mean, so Nebraska on the rise. Northwestern's always a stingy team for the Badgers, it seems like. Minnesota, they're hit or miss year by year, right? I mean, you could go through it. Michigan State has been down for a while. How long does Michigan State stay down before that? They find their way back into the fold of some things. Maryland, Rutgers, and I'm not going to hold out on them ever figuring anything out on that side of it. Iowa, they always have a good defense, right? They always have a good defense. The offense is the question mark. If they can find an offense, that's going to be a dangerous team, right? Because the defense, they find guys. They build guys. So all in all, looking across the board at the Big Ten, you recruit. The transfer portal is becoming big in college football and college football, basketball. Doesn't matter where you are. The transfer portal has become huge throughout the league, throughout college sports, but you still got to recruit well. You still have to recruit well. You still have to build guys, and you still need to have those pieces coming into your program. So for the Badgers to be sitting at that number 9 spot right now in the country, number 4 in the Big Ten, that's massive. And that tells you how good the Big Ten is recruiting-wise right now. I mean, you look at number 4 in the Big Ten there as being number 9 in the country. That tells you that there are 3 other teams in that top 9 right now. That tells you how good the Big Ten is trending right now. And the Badgers, doing a good job at staying afloat. That was my biggest concern, right? When I saw teams like Oregon and USC and Washington and UCLA, some of those big teams, right? Might have just said same team twice there. But either way, some of those Pac teams jumping into the Big Ten along with Ohio State and everything like that. it really made me nervous for a second that, the Brewers are not I'm watching the Brewer game right now. I'm zoning out on you guys here. The Badgers might fall behind, right? They might fall behind in the race that is bringing in recruits, bringing in talent, everything like that. That was my biggest worry because now you're not, if you really thought about powerhouses, top teams in the Big Ten, right? A guy wants to stay in the Big Ten. You're going to be looking at, Ohio State, Michigan. It was Michigan State, but not anymore. So you looked at those, some of the bigger teams, right? Ohio State and Michigan were the big ones, right? Those were the two big ones. Then you had Penn State was mixed in there too. And then you looked at Michigan State, right? For a while. Last couple of years, not so much. But Wisconsin was right up there. They were right up, I would say, above Michigan State as of late. So you had Wisconsin in that number 4. But now you had teams in like Oregon, like USC, like Washington, especially Washington now, right? Washington got put back on the map. Yes, their head coach did head to what he thinks is greener pastures there in Alabama. We'll see how that goes for him there in year 1 and so on there. But, some of these great and some historic football programs joining the Big Ten, that would put Wisconsin, as one of your perennial powerhouses, dropping back and back, right? So for them to stay up at the top in recruiting is massive. Now, I know it's only a year. Right? We're only talking about 2025. So can't really say, holy crap, this is a year-by-year thing that they're staying up at the top. But as of right now, it is impressive to me that they are staying near the top in recruiting. So love what I'm seeing in that sense there. But sticking with the Badgers, I wanted to stick with the Badgers there and talk about something that affects all sports and affects the university as a whole there, and that is looking at the Badgers and their new clothing. Their new partnership with a apparel company, right? They've been with Under Armour since 2016. I believe it was 2015, actually, if I'm not mistaken there. I believe Barry was still around when they made the move to flip to Under Armour there. October 9th, 2015 is the day its deal with Wisconsin was announced. Okay, that is what the listing says about Under Armour there. So, according to that, it was a 10-year deal. We're getting closer and closer, right? We're in 2024 now. We're getting closer and closer to that 2025 mark, which will mark the 10-year deal, which will mark the end of the deal with the Badgers. Now, this is going to lead to, will they make the move to a different company? Will they rework the deal with Under Armour? Because we have seen Under Armour in the past, they have drop teams. I believe they were with, I was just trying to see, I remember they were with a different team, UCLA. They actually had a $280 million deal with UCLA, and they dropped that deal. They ended the 15-year deal just 4 years into the agreement. So the company ended up paying the school around $67.5 million to settle the lawsuit that sought more than $200 million in damages from the company. So Under Armour did end up dropping them right afterwards. Under Armour also extended a more natural connection that same June. They ended up going with Maryland there. They also have a deal with Notre Dame. So they have a couple of big deals already under it. And it begs the question then, will they stick with Wisconsin? So the deal with Wisconsin at the time, it was a retail value of $96 million over 10 years. That was the second largest deal in college sports at the time. And then right after that, it ended up that Nike extended an extension with Ohio State, 15 years, $252 million. So that took the cake then. That was way gone on that one. But now we're kind of seeing how some of these deals are working out. Look at Nike with Ohio State there. Could the Badgers, there's a couple of different options, right? They could flip companies. Adidas is out there. If Nike would consider them, right? trying to think of bigger brands out there. I would hate to see some silly brand jump into there like Reebok or something like that. I don't even know if they have the money to be able to do that. Badgers used to be Adidas, so maybe we see them go back to Adidas. I don't know if they would make that deal there, but there's a lot of different brands. Also, another option for Wisconsin would be that they let it be a player-driven thing. A lot of these players have a lot of NIL money, or not a lot of NIL. Excuse me there. NIL money, not a lot of NIL money, but they have a lot of NIL deals, right? You see some of these players who are already endorsed by, let's just say, Adidas or Nike or, these other organizations. Maybe they let players go with, whatever they want, whatever brand that they want out there. It's definitely going to be an interesting thing. It's not like huge news, but it's something to keep an eye on, right? Because we've been so used to before it was Under Armour, we were so used to Adidas, right? And now flipping over to Under Armour, we've been so used to that Under Armour apparel and everything like that. If it changes again, who's going to be that company that's going to jump in there? Who's going to offer X amount of dollars that could steer the Badgers away from Under Armour? Who's going to steer the Badgers towards, if Under Armour wants them back, what does the new deal look like? Because now we're seeing that Under Armour has a bunch of big money deals already out there. And yes, this is probably most likely $1 billion corporation. So, money isn't a huge objective, right? They got a lot of money to be spending around there, as we see from some of these other deals here, and just jumping out of a deal with UCLA after they put a $250 million deal together and then ended up paying in a lawsuit then for dropping them. It's definitely going to be something to keep tabs on here over the, not this coming weeks, not this coming months, but getting into next year there. I would imagine they're going to have something set up. They're going to be, trying to, businesses might be calling them, corporations might be calling them, or, Macintosh might be, trying to make phone calls and seeing, hey, would this company be interested? Would this company be interested? It's probably going to be an interesting process there to see who Wisconsin will end up with as their next apparel company there. So definitely something to keep tabs on there. Good stuff coming out of Wisconsin there. Good news in the football front. Interesting news coming out of who will be the next clothing brand supplier of the Wisconsin Badgers. So with that, I want to mention, before we move on here, I want to mention the great sponsors that make this show happen, make it fantastic, the ones who keep us going, right? They give us everything we need every day. So right away, first sponsor, Game Day Supply down in Alaska. Do you have a sports club or team? Are you looking for some sweet custom uniforms or apparel? Check out the awesome crew at Game Day Supply in Alaska to help your team get the sweetest gear. Find them on Facebook at Game Day Supply or online at GameDaySupply.net. Also, Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood, Wisconsin. If you've been injured recently, whether at work, whether you were playing men's league softball, or maybe you were just mowing the lawn or picking weeds, right? Or playing with kids, and you felt something pop. You felt something that was like, it wasn't supposed to do that. And you think you might need some physical therapy. You want to get it checked out. Stop in there, call down to Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood, Wisconsin, and see Chad. He'll get you right. He'll get you back to work, back to playing, back to getting with the kids, mowing the lawn, whatever you got injured doing. He'll get you back doing it and better than ever. Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood, Wisconsin. Sports scene, sports cards, and memorabilia located in the Marshfield Mall in Marshfield, Wisconsin. You got to get there and see Al. He has everything you need, from sporting cards to memorabilia, jerseys, model stock cars. He's got it all. Sports scene in Marshfield. Marshfield Motor Speedways, located just 3 miles outside of Marshfield on County Road H. Summer is just getting started, and there's tons to do down at the track. There's tons to do. Great fun for all ages, great food, great drinks, great atmosphere. Nothing better than a great summer day or night down at the track there. So Marshfield Motor Speedway's there. Find the schedule on Facebook or online. Just search Marshfield Motor Speedways. You can find the schedule. Otherwise, stay tuned on my Facebook page, Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trades. I'll share the schedule on there. I'll keep you guys updated. You got to get down there. Great races happening all summer long down there at the track. Pittsville Farm and Home Center. At the store, they serve you anything from hydraulic hoses to red roses. Stop in and see the awesome crew at Pittsville Farm and Home Center in Pittsville, Wisconsin. And your hometown team, Century 21 Gold Key Realty. Call Peggy Sue or Anna to find your dream home, or if you're looking to sell. Find them on Facebook at your hometown team, Century 21 Gold Key Realty, or stop in and see them at their location in Marshfield, Wisconsin there. So with that, we got some Bucks talk to get into. Bucks, they made some noise today. They made some noise. Now, it wasn't like it was Paul George going to the 76ers. It wasn't like it was Klay Thompson going to the Mavs. We're gonna dive into a little bit of talking about both those deals. But I want to look Bucks. And the Bucks made a move today. They signed veteran guard Delon Wright to a 1-year, $3.5 million deal there. Now, a lot of people speculating that this is a trade that could get the Bucks into a category to make a move for another piece. It's a trade piece, right? It's going to be a trade piece for the Bucks. Now, there's people speculating that one. There's also people who are in the boat of this was a move that the Milwaukee Bucks made because they saw potential in this guy to be a threat for the Bucks. Is he going to be this big time, scoring threat that a lot of Bucks fans want to see, that they really want on this roster? Maybe not. But you look at Delon Wright, and this guy defensively, very good defender. Looking at him shooting-wise, he's a decent three-point shooter. I mean, last season, looking at his last season stats there, 4.5 a game, 1.8 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 39% from the field. Looking at his three-point percentage, he was about 36% from three. Looking at the postseason there. Now, we're talking about him with the Heat. This was him with his time with the Miami Heat there. But in that time with the Heat, in the postseason last season, shot 60% from three. He was 60% for the floor. This is a guy who, when he's in there, I mean, 9 times out of 10, he's firing a three. Like, that's Delon Wright. It just, looking at him, looking at his stats, watching him play just a little bit, I mean, he's averaging per game about 0.8 to 2.1 threes per game there. And on his field goals, he's averaging 1.9 to 4.7. This guy's out there, he's going to shoot. That's what he does. He's Malik Beasley, but a little bit better defensively. So honestly, the Bucks made this move, and simply all that it was we got to replace Malik Beasley as that good shooter that we can rely on to get hot, knock down shots for us. That's what this was. That's simply what it was. To me, that's what this was. It is a Malik Beasley replacement. That's all. I mean, you look at his time in the league, he's a consistent 35% three-point shooter. 35%. That is his career average there from the three-point line. He's about his average for threes per game, 0.7 to 1.9. His field goals per game, 2.5 to 5.6. He averages in his career about 20 minutes. 20 minutes. You look at this guy, that's him. He is your off-the-bench Beasley-esque player. He's going to shoot threes for you. He's going to defend, right? He's going to defend. He's a stingy guy. He's going to get after you. He's a vet. Right, so he's smart. He knows how to play the game. He's been in the league for a while now. He's on Toronto, I believe, 2018 to 2019. I believe that was the championship year, wasn't it? There, 2018 to 2019. I believe that was the champion team for the 2018 to 2019. It feels like that was the championship year. It really does. It really feels like that was the championship year for the Toronto Raptors. Toronto Raptors, yes, 2019. 2019, that was with Kawhi Leonard. So this guy, I mean, he's been to an NBA championship. He knows how to get there. And looking at that 2019, he was actually, and this sucks. This sucks for him because in that 2018 to 2019 season, he was traded from Toronto to Memphis. And then in 2019, yeah, so he was traded. He still got a ring, right? He still got a ring. Was a good contributor in that season. I mean, he was shot the ball well, 43% from three, or from the floor, and 33% from the 3-point line. He was shooting the ball well, just got traded midway through there. I mean, sucks to see, but he's made his rounds, right? He was with Toronto for 4 seasons, then he was with Memphis, then he was with Dallas, then the Detroit Pistons, then to the Sacramento Kings, then the Atlanta Hawks, then the Wizards for 2 seasons before being traded by the Wizards to the Miami Heat, where he finished out that 2024 season there. This guy, I mean, he's made, like I said, made his rounds around the league. He's a seasoned guy, experience. That's what Doc Rivers loves, right? We know it. We see it with Doc. He loves the experience, the veteran presence. So this is, I mean, a lot of people were, kind of making jokes about this deal because it, wasn't a big time deal. Like, why are we getting excited? I thought it was a solid move. I didn't think it was a move that's going to tilt the powers, right? It's not going to tilt the powers. It's not like you got Paul George or you got Klay Thompson, right? Or you made a deal and you got some superstars coming in, right? It was nothing crazy like that, but it was a deal for a solid bench role player who can, if you don't bring back Pat Bev, can hopefully replace what Pat Bev brought and maybe even replace what we had in Malik Beasley there. So a little bit of both you're hoping for out of Delon Wright there coming in. So the Bucks get Delon Wright on a 1-year, $3.3 million deal there. A lot of people talking, is Horst on the hot seat after that draft? After the draft, I mean, could you be upset that Horst kind of he went for more of a future ad than a we can use this guy right now ad? Maybe. I think a lot of this, the thing that it's going to upset me the most with these guys, with you look at Ajax, you look at AJ Green, you look at Beach Camp right now. The thing that's going to upset me the most is if you add AJ into there and you also add, you add AJ Johnson in there that the Bucks picked up in that first round, Tyler Smith in the second round there, and in that first round, AJ Johnson. If you add them in and we don't see the development factor, that's what's going to upset me the most. That's my biggest worry, I guess you could say. I'm not as worried. I don't think they were bad picks by any means. I don't think, like I mentioned the stat a couple times there, not many teams bring in these rookies and they're automatic contributors to a finals run, to even in the finals, right? The last team that had a contributor who was a rookie was Christian Braun with the Nuggets. Before that, it was like 5 years before that or so. I mean, I'd have to look back at the list completely, but it's been like 7 years I saw the list was, and the only team that had a contributing rookie was Christian Braun. And Braun played well, right? He was a very good guard coming out of Kansas. So, I mean, would it have upset you if he would have gone with a guy like, a lot of people wanted Flip from Duke? Would it have upset you if we got a guy like Flip and he didn't work out, right? And then would you have turned it around on Horst and said, man, oh man, that was a bad pick. that was just a stupid pick. Why would you pick Flip? We saw this wrong with him, and we saw this wrong with him. Would you have said that then? Right? That's the only thing that, there's two sides to it. There's people that are upset with the A.J. Johnson pick. Now, was he maybe a stretch in that pick, the 23rd spot? Yeah, he was. But Horst and company, I didn't even see Horst in that. When I looked at the Bucks, what do you call it, the war room? When I looked at their war room, I didn't even recognize a person in there. And, some people might have. Some people said, oh, that's so-and-so. But for me, I saw all the videos from, let's just say, the Lakers, right? I saw J.J. Redick. I saw the GM. I saw those two in the room. I saw a couple other teams there. I saw, you look down the Heat. Eric Spoelstra was in the room there, right? I saw, some of these other war rooms. You could see the head coach. You could see recognizable guys. When I saw the Bucks, I did not recognize a single guy in that room. So I thought that was, something interesting at least. But in all, Horst, he saw something that he liked. He saw something that he liked in this guy. Maybe it was the athleticism, the playmaking abilities. There's a lot of different intangibles that he might have said, this guy, he has this or this, and he has, this I like about this guy, and maybe we have to work on this. We got to build this, right? His frame is not huge. We got to build him up, right? But all in all, it's a wait and see, right? Packer fans are the same way, right? Looking at every draft pick that Brian Gutekunst has made. Rashawn Gary. I cannot tell you how many people were, Rashawn Gary sucks. This was the biggest reach ever. You guys need to, do you even look at the board? Why would you get Rashawn Gary here? Now Rashawn Gary is up for he's got a massive payday right now, and he's got a massive payday in his future, and it seems like a great pick. So Brian Gutekunst figured it out. What tells you that we drafted a skinny guy out of Greece at one point? His name's Giannis, I believe, right? And at the time, Giannis looked like he was just some scrawny dude coming from overseas, right? Didn't look like much. Look what Giannis was. Look what Giannis turned into. Now I get different Bucks, different times, right? Because the Bucks back then versus the Bucks now, this is a Bucks team that's looking to win right now. But a draft pick can be good or a draft pick can be a flop, right? There's teams, you look at Baylor Shireman going to the Celtics there, Jared McCain going to the 76ers, Zach Edey going to the Grizzlies there, Donovan Clingan going to the Trail Blazers. Stephon Castle, right? Reed Shepherd in the third pick. How many guys out of Kentucky have stuck it out in the league for a long time, right? There's a few, but there's been a few busts, right? Same with Duke. Cam Reddish, RJ Barrett. Are those guys the stars that they were in college? No. Zion. Zion is finally staying healthy, finally showing up and showing to be the guy that we kind of hoped that we would see coming into the league and, jumping into the stardom. But it's hard. Sometimes I get upset with draft picks, just like the Packers. Jordan Morgan, first round pick. Not even the best offensive lineman on the board, right? Not even the best offensive lineman on the board. Not the best tackle. And we take Jordan Morgan. And it's like, what are the Packers doing, right? Cooper DeJean's still there. Why did we take Jordan Morgan? This pick doesn't make sense. Why did we get this guy? Brian Gutekunst had a feeling, right? He's had a lot of those. Jordan Love, right? He's had that feeling. A lot of people let down. And, the best part is that I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm this same way. I get upset when, Packers pick Jordan Love, and in his first full season as the quarterback, he looked like he was turning out to be a dumpster fire, right? I was the first to shoot him down. I'll admit it. I was the first to shoot him down. He figured it out, right? What tells you that A.J. Johnson couldn't be a star? What tells you? What tells you that the Bucks' second-round pick there, which I honestly thought that Tyler Smith was more of, I thought Tyler Smith was in my opinion, a better, well-rounded, more ready-to-go player than A.J. Johnson. But Tyler Smith, coming out of the G League Ignite, there's not a lot of G League players, G League Ignite players that are floating around in the league that much, right? What tells you that he's going to make it? I mean, you look at draft picks over the years. You look at some of the first round, the number one picks, how many of them end up happening, right? It's hard to draft. So I wouldn't want to be in horseshoes, right? Because you're making a pick that's going to not just affect the team next year, but the year after and 5 years down the road, right? You're making picks like that. That is tough. That is tough to do. So is Horst on the hot seat? I don't think yet. I really do think the Bucks got to develop the youth, though. I really do. I mean, they have some good young players in the system right now. I mean, you look at the Milwaukee Herd. The Herd has some pretty good players on it right now. Players that I forgot about. Kihei Clark from Virginia there. A hero from Virginia's national championship run, right? Ended up getting the back tap and whipping it down the court, and that's how they scored that bucket there to force overtime. A hero there in the tournament. Forgot about him. He's sitting down there. Nigel Hayes, former Badger. He's down there. Now, I'm not saying that Nigel Hayes is going to make it up, but there's a lot of guys in the G League that teams forget. I mean, Drew Timme, right? Drew Timme's, I believe, is still down there with the Herd. And looking at the bench of the Bucks, Ajax and AJ Green. Ty Washington is floating around. I mean, there's pretty good developed or pretty good players that need to be developed throughout this Bucks roster. And that's where I think the Bucks need to start. That's where I really think the Bucks need to start, is somewhere in that realm, finding those pieces and trying to build from within a little bit and not trying to rely so much on the outside, because I think they do have talent in the room. AJ Green can be a good shooter. Ajax can be an all-around player if you develop him. Marjan can be a great scorer if you work with Marjan and you develop Marjan and you give him the time to be a good player there, right? And you look at these new picks for the Bucks. I mean, A.J. Johnson, I don't see him in his first season contributing as much, but I could see a Tyler Smith. This is a big-bodied guy already. He's 224, 6'9", 224 at the small forward position there. I could see Tyler Smith being a guy who can, I mean, he can score it. We know he can score it there. A little bit slower in transition, but that's something you work with. He averaged, looking at his time with the G League Ignite there, he averaged 13.7 a game, 5 rebounds, 22 minutes per game. This is a guy who can get after it. Tyler Smith could be a contributor year one. I think a lot of this is going to rely on like we talked about earlier with Delon Wright coming to the Bucks, will Doc Rivers kind of flip himself into relying on some youth to help him out there, to help out the stars. And I think that's going to be a lot on Giannis and Dame and Middleton walking in the room and saying, hey, we have these young guys. We work with them in practice. We love what we see. Let's make it work with them. I think that's something that needs to happen there. So outside of that, other big news in NBA free agency, we did see Paul George finalize that deal with the 76ers. He's heading out there. Tyrese Maxey got a max deal. So Tyrese, Joel Embiid, Paul George. It's going to be a matter of if they can stay healthy, right? We know Paul George has had some injury problems. We know that Joel Embiid has some injury problems. But this helps out the Sixers in those times that they are without Joel or Paul George. They have the other one out there. And when they're all healthy, you hope that, I mean, if you're a 76ers fan, you hope that everything's great, right? You hope that this team is flourishing, unlike the Suns, who built a super team and they were just complete dumpster fire. You hope that you can find out a way to make this work there. So we're going to talk about that more on the crossover show on Friday, because I want to get into that with Aaron. We all know Aaron's from Philly. He's got his Sixers are in his back pocket. He loves talking about the Sixers and when they do good, right? When they're doing crap, he doesn't love to talk about it, but they're making good moves. We got to get into that We got to talk about what the East looks like now with Paul George jumping in there. Outside of that, sad news. We did see Klay Thompson take a deal, a 3-year, $50 million deal with the Mavs. Now, that was interesting because the Warriors did offer him 2 years, $48 million, which really interests me because I would have thought that he would have wanted to stay, but I felt like he thought that the Warriors kind of disrespected him because of the Wiggins deal, the Draymond deal. Now he gets this deal. He's like, you guys really don't want me that bad. You're just trying to keep me here. I mean, it sucks to see. It's an end of an era. It's an end of an era, the official end of a dynasty in Golden State there, the dynasty that was the Splash Brothers. So, I mean, it's a sad day. Sad day. The Splash Brothers are no more there in Golden State there. So, with that, let's get to some Brew Crew talk. Let's get to the Brewers. Can't have a day without talking about the Brewers. You know me. Love talking a little bit of Brewers there. So, I mean, the biggest news of the day we saw was Garrett Mitchell returned to the Brewers. Well, Garrett Mitchell's return meant we were going to have to see somebody sent down. Well, also, we were going to have to see somebody designated for assignment. Now, if you don't know what designated for assignment is out there, basically what happens, the Brewers designated a guy off the 40-man roster. Now, the Brewers have 10 days to either option the trade, so they have the option of trading him, finding a trade partner, Owen Miller, or they have the option to try and pass him through waivers. Now, when he passes through waivers, other teams have the possibility to grab Owen Miller. That would suck. I have always, maybe it's because he's a Wisconsin guy, but I have always liked Owen Miller. And truth be told, and, some people might not agree with me on this. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. That's fine. You can agree with me or disagree or hate my opinion on this or hate my opinion on everything. Whatever you want to do. But the thing that sucks is I don't feel like Owen Miller's actually got a great chance with the Brewers. I don't think he's ever gotten a full chance with the Brewers. I mean, you look at Owen Miller, excuse me there, last season with the Brewers. 90 games, 291 at-bats, 76 hits. He had a 261 average. He had 27 RBIs and 5 home runs. Look at him year before that with Cleveland. He was 243 hitter. This season with the Brewers, he had a 185 average. He had 5 hits and 27 at-bats, 14 games played. Owen Miller at one point last season, I could be mistaken, but he was sitting around like a 301, 320 average. Like, Owen Miller was hitting the crap out of the ball. And he went through a little tough stretch. Now, I'll be honest with you. I look at the Brewers roster from last season. I look at their team as a whole. I can't tell you who didn't have a rough spot last season. Yelich had rough spots last year. Adames had rough spots last year. Same with Rowdy Tellez. I mean, you can go through the line. They had rough stretches last season there. And I get, Owen Miller had options, right? So you floated him around, and then you brought in Carlos Santana. So that dropped Owen Miller off. You kept Rowdy Tellez on the big league roster because you didn't apparently want to lose him because he was, a clubhouse guy, whatever it was. I just felt, Owen Miller went through that little tough stretch, and then we immediately dropped him down to AAA. He was like, not even a thought, down to AAA. And then we kind of forgot about him. Like, he was just gone. And in 2023, in Nashville, he hit 283. This season, in Nashville, 259. Not as great, right? but still solid. Still a solid hitter. He's been consistently, he's been a consistent hitter, but at the big league level, he didn't get the at-bats, I thought, to be a consistent guy. So for me, I mean, I get it. I get the move. You got to be able to create a roster spot. You got to drop somebody off to 40. You had to pick and choose somebody that you were okay with. Not necessarily losing. I don't want to say that the Brewers want to lose Owen Miller. I'm not going to say that. But they're okay with that if some team does come along, if they don't trade him, and some team comes along and grabs him. They want Owen Miller to find a place, right? Now they hope that he doesn't come back and beat him, right? They hope that, Craig Counsell doesn't come in and say, oh, wow, Owen Miller, I mean, you better come down here. You can produce for us down here in the Cubs. And he starts lighting the world on fire there and lighting the Brewers on fire. You don't hope for that any day of the week. But, I mean, you're kind of just sitting there and, you want him. If it was me, I'd want him to stay in the organization. I'd want him to stay in AAA. I'd want to have the option of Owen Miller. But I would also want to be sitting at the point where I want as an organization, if you're not going to be able to find playing time for a guy who you believe could have potential at the next level in some way, shape, or form, you want him to find pasture elsewhere, right? You want him to find places to play elsewhere there. So, in that sense, I mean, if he doesn't clear waivers and end up in the Brewers organization, if some team does come and pick him up, I hope that, he finds a place and he ends up with some consistent playing time, because I really do think Owen Miller is a decent hitter, right? He's just got to find a place to, be able to hang up his hat and make it happen. So that's kind of where I'm at right now with the Owen Miller situation. It sucks to see Wisconsin guy he got his shot with the Brewers, hit well, and then was kind of just gone. We never really heard of him again. People forgot he was in. I saw a lot of reactions to it. Forgot he was even in the organization, and when he gets called up, they forget he was even here. So, I mean, it's one of those things. It's definitely one of those things with the Owen Miller situation there. So, I mean, Owen Miller designated for assignment. Tyler Black sent back down. Garrett Mitchell back up with the big league ball club there. So, with that, I mean, we're going to stick with that kind of front there. The Brewers, like we talked about yesterday, Jared Koenig was sent to the IL. It looked like his first X-ray that he got was as MRI it was good. It was good. Like, didn't show anything bad. We should be, it's just tendonitis. Hopefully everything checks out there and Jared Koenig's able to find his way back there. That leads us into Zastrini. That name, Rob Zastrini. It kicks my butt every time. It kicked my butt throughout spring training there, talking about trying to get his name right. I heard it last night on the broadcast there, and I still can't remember it there. But he was called back up for the Brewers there, was added to the 40-man roster. Chris Roller was designated for assignment, just like we talked about there with Owen Miller. Chris Roller, a recent add by the Brewers. He's been designated for assignment there. So Zastrini, he made the start for the Brewers last night, pitched well for Milwaukee in that inning. Only had like 9 pitches there, got through it. A good first outing for him. Potentially see him in that same role that Jared Koenig. He looked like just basically an opener. Just looked like an opener. Get you through the lefties and then get Bryce Wilson into the game. Bryce Wilson did struggle again last night there. The home run ball affects it, and this was, like I said, my biggest worry heading into Colorado was going to be the home run ball, simply because the ball flies a little bit better in Colorado. So it definitely was a worry of mine, was the Brewers heading to Colorado there. But, I mean, outside of that, did very well. I mean, he didn't pitch a terrible game, didn't make it long in this game here, but he didn't pitch terribly bad at, those 3 runs at the time. I believe it was only 3 earned runs. I just wanted to double check that there in that game. 5 earned runs. My mistake. 5 earned runs. Milner did come in. I thought it was some inherited runners that were given up by Milner there. It was the Bryce Wilson runs that were given up there. So 5 earned runs in total by Wilson, 2 home runs. That was my worry. Bryce Wilson giving up the home run ball. It continued in Colorado. Something to keep an eye on there with Wilson, along with the rest of the pitching staff. We talked about stat yesterday. They're near the bottom in the league right now, giving up home runs. So definitely something, like I said, to keep an eye on in that right there. But sticking with the injury report, and we talked about Jared Koenig getting moved to that 15-day IL. They're expecting him back after the All-Star break. So a little bit of time off there for Koenig. Get right. Get back into the bullpen there for the Brewers. Gary Sanchez looks like a mid-July return. Oliver Dunn looks like he's about at least 4 weeks. DL Hall looks like he's a July return there. He has been resuming throwing, and he's been with AAA Nashville. Hopefully, we see DL Hall return to the Milwaukee Brewers at some point. I don't know where his role is going to be right off the bat, but what I do know is DL Hall has some potential. The Brewers see the potential in DL Hall, so we're hopeful, right? We're hopeful. We're hopeful that we're going to see DL Hall return, end up with a little bit of something to show us there that makes us all feel a little bit better. We all just want to feel a little bit better there with DL Hall there. I was just trying to look up his game logs and see what he's been up to there. He did pitch on June 29th. He did throw 3 innings of 5-hit, 1-run baseball. Before that, he threw on the 25th. He had 2 2/3, 4 hits, and 0 earned runs. Before that, he had on June 20th, he pitched an inning and a third, 1 hit, and 2 walks in that outing there. So all in all, DL Hall's been pitching pretty well down there at the Nashville level. So potentially see DL Hall back up with the bigs pretty soon here. It's a July return. At some point here in July, we will see DL Hall return. Devin Williams, this is the big one. He threw a 20-pitch session on June 26th, I believe there. Yes, June 26th. He threw a 20-pitch session there, and he said that he used his full arsenal. He was feeling strong. Everything seems well. Tentatively, he's scheduled for a simulated game on July 9th. So he's going to work. He's slowly working his way back, trying to be back in the majors there, roughly in the middle to end of July there. So getting closer and closer to that All-Star break, we will see Devin Williams back. Joe Ross, I don't even know. Joe Ross seemed like a simple thing at first, and now it's turned into late July at the earliest. I just have no idea when we will see Joe Ross back. I don't even know if Dallas Keuchel works out. I don't even know if we see Joe Ross back with the big league club. I don't know. I don't know how it's all going to shake out, right? You always want depth in the starting pitching room. So I don't know how it's going to work out, but it's going to be definitely interesting to see if Joe Ross does fully make his way back to the Brewers roster there. So with that, that's about all I got. That's about all I got for today. Dallas Keuchel versus Feltner coming up tonight. 7:40 start for that game. Should be a great one against the Colorado Rockies. Hopefully Brewers, they got to take this series because they take on the Dodgers next. You want to take this series and be on a winning streak when you head to LA to take on. You're on a pretty decent road trip here with Colorado and the Dodgers. A pretty good road trip there. I mean, the Colorado Rockies are a stingy team, and the Dodgers are a perennial powerhouse, right? I mean, it seems like every year we're talking about the Dodgers up there near the top. It doesn't happen often. We're talking about them not being at the top. So definitely going to be some good series coming up here for the Brewers before the All-Star game happens here in mid-July, July 16th for that one there. Like everybody's been telling you out there, keep voting. Vote for Yelich. Vote for Contreras. I wish we could vote for Terang because I believe that guy deserves to be in there. And Eric Hayes because I just saw him come up with a clutch RBI single in this game against the Rockies there. So good stuff there. Seeing Haste produce. We saw it in spring. We're seeing it in the season now here. Bryce Terang, first and third, 2 outs. If the bases were juiced, they'd be a grand slam, potentially at a 3-run home run here. I'm going to end on that. I'm calling a 3-run home run. So with that, that's about all I got for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I hope you enjoyed the show. Leave a review, leave some stars. Let me know how I did. Send us fan mail. It's in the description of the podcast. You will see it down there at the bottom. Click send us a message. Click that. It'll send you to a text link. Text us your message, what you thought of the show, any questions, any topics, anything that, you would have said or anything that you think there. And I'd love to answer it on the show here. But with that, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. But until I talk to you guys again tomorrow, deuces.
Yeah, oh my Lord, watch me sway. Darkness falls and we all pray, hoping for the light of day. Down to the river, I have held the devil's hand, felt the weight of my own sin, burdened by the heart of man. Down to the river, down to the river.